Question 22. William Hague was heard to state just 3 days ago, and I quote, "With regard to how long we need to remain in Afghanistan, as long as Afghanistan is a threat to the world. That is how long we need to be there." End of quote. Answer: this is a total nonsense and unadulterated rubbish. In other words, constant, never-ending conflict and state-sponsored murder and terrorism using weapons of mass destruction against unarmed civilians is all they want. Question 23. In 1979, the Russians invaded Afghanistan. They were there 10 years. In that time, did you ever once hear the term Al-Qaeda, terrorism, Taliban, threat by Afghanistan to the Russian homeland, or Osama bin Laden? Answer: not once. Question 24. Did you ever once hear of an act of terrorism by Afghanistan, or Iraq for that matter, against Russia or any of the former USSR states? Answer: not once. Question 25. I ask that you all go to this link at chapter 44 of the main chapter index of The Voice of the World at www.tvotw.com/501.htm. I'll repeat that, www.tvotw.com/501.htm, and view the documentary entitled "We Cry for You, Afghanistan," in 2 parts. That particular page has been there since the 30th of November 2001, and this documentary has been there since the 12th of April 2004. It gives you an insight into the extent of the research and development which has gone into the Voice of the World over many years. Confirm for yourself in clear, unequivocal terms: is there any threat whatsoever by Afghanistan to the UK, or the US for that matter? Answer: absolutely none whatsoever. Question 26. So for God's sake, what are we doing there? Why are we killing their people? Answer: because the foreign policy of the UK and the US is being controlled by the neocons and the New World Order, whose agenda is constant, never-ending conflict, using as its pretext a fabricated, fictitious war against terrorism, to create conflict where there is no conflict, to carry out the testing of weapons of mass destruction against live targets which, in the normal course of events, they would never be allowed to conduct or carry out. The evil and controlling influence and power of the military-industrial complex in the US and the UK. Question 27. And now you have Nick Clegg aligning himself and your party with these criminal warmongers in the Conservative Party. What does this mean? Answer: you are allowing the Liberal Democrats to become a party to and to be complicit in the worst crimes of the 21st century. You are allowing yourselves to become an accessory to the murder of approximately 2 million innocent Iraqi and Afghan civilians in a completely illegal and criminal invasion of 2 independent, impoverished and defenceless countries. Question 28. The following question has been promulgated in the earlier movie documentaries by the Global Fund. If, in the case of Iraq, Russia or China had done what Bush and Blair have done, answer: we would now be well into World War III. Question 29. Then ask yourselves the following question. Iraq was effectively disarmed of all weapons, all means of defence under the auspices of the United Nations. In other words, it was defenceless. As a consequence, what did this mean? Answer: the United Nations was morally and legally obligated to provide Iraq with the defence needed against any foreign aggressor, no matter who that should be. Question 30. Was this done? Answer: not in the least bit. The United Nations did absolutely nothing. Question 31. What should the Liberal Democrats do about all of the preceding? Answer: remove and replace Nick Clegg immediately. Question 32. And answer: withdraw from this coalition, pointing out that the leadership did not have the mandate or the authority of the wider party to enter into agreements which would put the Liberal Democrats on a course of self-destruction. Question 33. Come next election, will anyone vote for the Liberal Democrats? Answer: no, because to vote Lib Dem will get Tory. Liberal Democrat voters will never be able to trust the party's leaders again. And let's not hear any more of this nonsense that the electorate did not want any particular party to win. The electorate was brainwashed and beaten into a state of utter desperation by a barrage of attacks by the mainstream media and the Conservatives and Labor, using the politics of fear that to vote in a particular way was going to end in dire consequences for each one of them and the country. All added to the injustice of the current electoral system. It was not just a shambles from start to finish, but a full degeneration into illegitimacy due to the combination of people being refused the vote at polling stations and postal fraud. A complete indictment against a government and a system which can't even get the most basic of functions of a democracy right: the ability of its people to vote. And let's not forget, Nick Clegg stood up in front of 20 million people in the TV debates and claimed, and I quote, "This is the new politics. This is the change we need from the two-party stitch-up. Vote for the Liberal Democrats and finish with the old politics." End of quote. Then he stood there and stated in the number 10 Rose Garden press conference, again on national television, and said, and I quote, "You're looking at it. This is the new politics." End of quote. As he reached out and gestured with his left arm as if to embrace Cameron. Isn't there a fundamental inconsistency, insincerity, hypocrisy, lack of loyalty and conflict of interest in the same comment being made in radically opposite circumstances with completely opposing loyalties to two different political parties? Where has his allegiance to the Liberal Democrats gone? So, we are supposed to assume now that the alleged new politics he referred to in the TV debates was not the new politics of a Liberal Democrat government, but one of a marriage between two parties that are diametrically opposed on the majority of core principles. I warned you how the hierarchy of the Conservative Party will make their move and spit the Liberal Democrats out into little pieces when it suits them. You can ignore this advice at your peril. I only offer this advice because there are millions of Liberal Democrat supporters and activists who deserve better. I know of PPCs who are now broke after extending themselves with bank overdrafts, etc., to fight for the Liberal Democrat cause. So many of those people could be sitting in Westminster 6 months from now in a full Liberal Democrat government. It is not too late if you act now. And please remember, he who hesitates is lost. Thank you very much.